A lot of solutions to the buyer agent compensation. A lot of solutions. I could rattle off four or five or six possible ways to work with buyers still and get your commission. But the reality is, everybody here wants listing business, or if you're an investor, obviously you want purchase business. You want an opportunity to be able to buy inherited properties, and this both niches that ATL helps with, divorce and probate, are your door to not have to worry about whether you're going to go chasing your buyers for commissions. If you still work with buyers, happy to talk about that. But go get listings. The old adage that most of you guys have heard for years and years and years is list to last. And it's true. We used to say back in the great downturn, the housing market crash in 08, 09, that he who has the most signs wins, or she. He or she that has the most signs up wins. And that's what you guys want to be. Your signage is your branding. I would argue that if you're an investor, signage is probably also your branding as an investor. So find a niche, find a way of pursuing that niche that your competitors aren't doing, and you're going to be just fine. It's not even you'll be okay. You're going to be great. You're going to have a business that is the envy of your market, and you can do that with probate. I know you can do it with probate. I know you can do it with divorce. You can do that with a lot of other niches, but these are the two that people aren't going after. So why not go after them?
And Bruce, to add to one thing you said, you can't drive by a real estate sign anymore without seeing buyer agents welcome, or 2.5%, 3% to buyers agents. The
Hmm.
people are putting it right on their sign to encourage showing. So, like Aline said before the call started, that hasn't really changed. It's just being more broadcast out there, and it's important that you get that message out there if you're a
Well,
listing
you
agent.
said, I remember when this whole thing started. The first thing, it's like going through the various stages of grief. I remember in the beginning of this, a lot of people said, "Oh, nothing is going to change. Things are going to, it'll all blow over. It won't mean anything." Well, obviously, that's not the case. Things have changed. It is going to stick. There are changes that will occur, and it's definitely going to weed out some people who aren't good at doing this, and that's just the reality of life. There are people who have been kind of existing on the fringes, or they're one dimensional in that they were really, really good at hosting people, and doing good things, making people feel great and showing houses. Do a good job at that. But that's what they do, and they really don't have the other necessary dimensions in some cases to flesh that out. So we're here to help. We really want to help that happen. And if you're in that situation, we encourage you to ask. We encourage you to say, "Hey, what can you do to help me get this squared away? How can I be better? What can I do? What does all the leads have to offer me in support of developing a new angle to my career?" Because it's a challenge, and certainly that's important. And Jim Steele, I'm going to call on you in just a second. While I'm getting ready to do that, just let me point out, as we always do, that this call's about you. We definitely, this time more than probably any we've ever done, want to hear from you. It's important that you let your voice be heard. We're operating today as a community, and you are part of that community. We want to hear what you have to say. We want to hear what your views are in regard to what's going on in the world. And it's important to know that, we're here for you, but we want to hear from you as well. So raise your hand. There's a button at the bottom that says raise hand. Click the magic button and raise your hand. We definitely want to hear from you. And Jim, you went away. I don't know where you went. Jim Steele, would you raise your hand again if you wanted to talk? I saw you had your hand up. There you are. I'm going to ask you to unmute if you had something you wanted to say. I clicked unmute there.
I hit the wrong button. My fault.
Well, now you're on the spot. Say something brilliant.
Well, I'm brand new to the probate thing, but I'm excited about it. I've done divorce for a while, and my partner and I are on this call, and we're just wanting, I'm an investor and a realtor, and Eric, my partner, is the realtor part of it. So, we're just excited to learn it. We got the website and everything going. I had my first coaching call yesterday, so we're moving forward, and we're just trying to learn everything.
Awesome. That's great. Appreciate it. Appreciate you. Glad
Yeah.
you're with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tim,
I'll call on you again later too. Sorry, Elaine, go ahead.
Yeah, so what I just want to add to what both you and Jim were saying, and Bruce, is that this is an opportunity for us to really level up our value proposition and really explain where it is that we can add value to our sellers and to our buyers, right? So oftentimes when an agent is new to the market, new to real estate rather, the typical route is just to go work with buyers. It's the road in real estate of least resistance, right? Somebody's waving their hands, they're looking to buy a house, and you can be their advisor, help them, and then you've got a commission because that's what was already scheduled or set out from a seller. And now it's literally leveling up the buyer's agent's position where you really need to show where your value as a real estate professional is. Obviously, 100% the go-to, and when I started in business, was that you just go after listings and buyers will come. Like, you work with sellers and you'll get buyers as a result of that. And that is definitely the main route to go on. But regardless, in this market now with all these changes, is creating a value proposition. What is my value proposition? And I think it even digs deeper into what we can offer as probate specialists, or as, you know, with divorces, with divorce situations, what we can offer.
For
Yeah,
sure.
Aline, something you said that I'm particularly intrigued about is, for both the buyer's agents and the seller's agents, change creates opportunity. So I'm really interested to hear from our people. How are you capitalizing on this opportunity? How are you being different than everybody else? How are you going to make it work for you? I'd love to hear a story like that. Yep.
I'm going to add to that story. If you don't know how you're going to capitalize and adjust and what you're going to do to be different, then I'm going to encourage you guys to take a step back weekly in your business and set time aside to stare at a wall or sit outside and think about your business, and think about what adjustments. Look at any challenges that are either happening to you right now, or look at any challenges that could happen. And instead of going, woe is me, this market is terrible, what are we going to do? Go, hey, how could I solve for that problem? Solutions exist everywhere. So there are dozens of solutions to any problem that you face. And if you don't know what they are, it basically means that you're not properly analyzing and thinking about what you could do to solve. One of the coaching techniques that I use is I hear about a problem and I'll say, hey, if that wasn't a problem for you, what would it look like? Or, hey, if you were going to fix that problem, how would you fix it? And all of a sudden, people will just rattle off the answers that they have not been able to think of for the last year. They just spit out the answers that are like the perfect answers. And that tells me that you have the answer inside of you. You just haven't taken a step back and put the pieces together yet. So force yourself to take a step back and analyze and say, hey, if I was going to fix X, how would I do that? And you'll come up with answers that you wouldn't even imagine.
Hey, Bruce, awesome for saying that. And the challenge sometimes that happens with that is that, and the only reason it's coming up to me is that I try to spend time listening to people a lot smarter than I am, talking about how they get stuff done. And, the getting things done crowd makes a very, very good point of, put a list together with 3 items on it you're going to do today. Make sure you get those things done. And one of the things that, it's fine to contemplate your navel and, look at the sky and come up with great answers. Unfortunately, all too often, doesn't translate into action. So one of the things that I think it really behooves us all to do to say, what one thing at least can I do today that I didn't do yesterday that's going to move the ball down the field in regard to this? And everything that we're saying right now, which is the most important thing I hope you take away from this, Aline's saying it, Jim, Bruce, all of us are going to say the same thing. This is a time of opportunity. It's a time of change in the industry. And this is the time that millionaires are going to be made in our industry from people who are going to take action they weren't doing before this happened. It is a catalyst. It's a moment of change. And you know that there are people that are going to drop out of the market. Competition will get smaller. There'll be less people potentially competing for the same nickel. That's good and bad. Part of it says the people that are going to stick around are going to compete harder, but there'll be less of them. And the issue is if you can outthink them, outsmart them, you don't have to necessarily even outwork them. You just have to figure out what fits best for you. And Jim made a great point about riding around and seeing on top of all the signs, 2% to brokers, 3% to buyer's agents. Buyer's agents welcome, all of that. One of the things that you ought to be doing within your own circle of the people that you're working with is to get with the buyer's agents. It's back to the practice side of this. If you've got the ability to reach out to the people in your brokerage that we're living off of that side of it, know that they're scared and be their champion. Work with them, get with them and say, hey, look, here's how I'm conditioning every single listing I take to make it easy for you to do this job. And certainly I want you to show all my properties. Here's how I'm going to help you do that. And be part of that change within your own organization. Nobody's going to stop you from doing that. Get out and recruit within your own group. Put a stronger team together. Build that camaraderie that may not have been there before because you just assumed you'd list them. Goes on MLS, life's good, and the next sales meeting you've got, it's like, well, here's the 6 new properties we got listed. Go get them, Tiger. Well, you need to be doing that differently. You need to market your stuff internally to the people that you're working with, and put it together. Be organized about it. Be deliberate. Make something happen like that.
Hey, Bruce, one more thing that I kind of chuckled when you were talking because it reminded me so much of my real estate coaching career. It was more structured. It was a little more scripted back then, but we had questions that we had to ask our prospects. And one of the favorite ones was, well, yeah, I know you have no idea, but if you did know, what do you think it would be? I know you don't have time. I know you don't have time, but if you could make time, when do you think it would be?
Yeah.
And we would only not do that with our clients. And they'd always come up with an answer. It kind of takes it relax. You're agreeing with them that, there's no answer, but what is the answer? And we used to teach them to do that in their own businesses. If you're feeling frustrated, like, boy, there isn't enough time for everything, ask yourself that question. Yeah, I know I don't have enough time, but if I did have time, when would it be? If I know I can't do that, but if I could do it, how could I do it?
Yeah.
It's just such a fundamental shift in thinking that can really change everything.
Big time. I saw, I don't know how many of you guys saw the Netflix documentary several years ago. It was the Tony Robbins, I'm Not Your Guru. And I'll never forget during that documentary, someone kind of raised their hand or he called on someone for like an intervention type of thing in front of the group, and he said, hey, what's the one thing holding you back from your dreams? It was some kind of answer like that, and she said, I just don't know. And he said, hey, that's a big question. It's hard to know that. Listen, I know you don't know. If you did know, what do you think the answer would be? And she went for 5 minutes explaining exactly what was holding her back from what she wanted to accomplish. And it was amazing because the answer was there. It's just too easy for us, all of us, me included, Jim included, Tim, Aline, all of us. It's too easy for us to just go, hey, I haven't thought about it before. I don't know what the answer is. And if you can get to the place where you can challenge yourself instead of having to be challenged by a coach or motivational speaker or guru or broker or something like that, and you can ask yourself those questions, hey, I know I don't know the answer to this, but if I did know the answer, what do you think it would be? You're going to find answers. You're going to find ways of differentiating yourself. You can't help it. Tim used a little bit ago the expression outsmart your peers and your competitors, outsmart. And I'm going to raise an issue with that, because some people don't think that they're smart. It's not a matter of outsmarting. You have the same brain I do. You have the same brain anyone else does. It's just a matter of learning how to use it. The people that seem to come up with the best ideas, they spend the most time analyzing possibilities. And if you're not coming up with ideas, it's just because you haven't learned how to think through it yet. And it's not a smarts thing. It's a learning how to come up with solutions. I saw a TikTok earlier today, as a matter of fact, and I don't know if you guys remember the late night infomercial guru, who used to sell these medical secrets and get rid of cancer and sell this book and sell financial plans and different things like that. And the guy, I can't remember his name, but he ended up in jail like 4 times because he was a total fraud and huckster. And he just kept on. He'd go to jail for a year and then he'd get out and he'd come out with a new product, and he'd go to jail for 2 years and he'd get out and come up with a new product. And he was a con artist. Don't be a con. But that tells me that it's a matter of thinking about what you're going to do, that's differentiated, that differentiates you, how you're going to present that. If a con person like that can come up with plan after plan after plan after plan, you can come up with a plan and do it with integrity. So that's my challenge to you guys today is sit back and start to think about your business. I don't care how busy you are. I don't care how scared the market might have you or excited it might have you. You need to force yourself to sit and process and analyze and think from time to time. It might not have to be every day, but try to make it every week at least.
That's excellent point. And I think probably good that you said it the way you did it. I said outthink as well. And I think I was camping on what you said, is that you got to take time to process this. And I think the wise counsel you're offering is, if you've ever got a time to reflect on what you're doing for a living, this is the time to do it, because it's a time of change. And that's really all we're doing right now, is trying to encourage you to say, look, there are opportunities that abound. We don't have all the answers. We're going to learn from you as well, in terms of what you're doing. And we'll talk a bit more about that going forward. Nita, I saw you had a question to ask. You didn't raise your hand, but I'm going to ask you to unmute and go ahead and ask your question.
Hey, can y'all hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, my name is Kanita. I think my title says Nubian, but it's Kanita. My question that I have is, I got the leads as far as for divorce, and I'm trying to figure out, should I cut my loss with these particular leads as far as with an attorney? I just called them not too long ago, and she already told me that she's a licensed real estate agent, but she also pops up on my lead as the most populated far as for a divorce attorney. So my question is, should I still reach out to those people that's still getting a divorce, even though she is a licensed real estate agent, or should I cut my losses with just those particular people?
Let me ask you a
Oh,
question. Let me ask you a quick
sorry.
question. Have you reached
Mhm.
out to any of those people yet?
No, I have not sent no letters off to them yet. I'm trying to basically market myself first to different, not organizations, what's the words I'm looking for? To different, I can't think of the words right now, but I have not sent out no leads or call those people yet.
Well, here's the thing.
Mhm.
If she or he, whoever this attorney is, has a bunch of those folks as a client, and they
Mhm.
are an agent, then it depends on how they're approaching it and all of that. It doesn't mean that they wouldn't work with you. It just means that that's the attorney that's doing it. Got to figure out, what is that attorney doing for a living? Are they practicing family law? Are they working on the real estate business? Typically they're going to be doing one more than they're doing the other. And
Okay.
you may find that that's a smart attorney that realizes that in the circumstance they're in, it's a great place to be a realtor as well. And they've got a real estate license, but they're not pursuing it aggressively. And that's possible. But regardless, start making some phone calls and send some letters out to the people that you've got the leads from and work with them and find out rather than supposing about what she or he might do. Go to the horse's mouth. Talk to the people that you've got the leads from and find out, are they, they'll tell you, oh, well, so-and-so is my attorney and they're a realtor and they're handling it. If you see that over and over again, then you may, you've got a different strategy to apply. And that's a thing to do, but certainly don't guess at it. You've got the opportunity to figure it out by asking the questions. Jim?
Yeah, Tanita, I was going to follow up what Tim said. I would call the attorney. You may find out. I would call the attorney and just ask, are you trying to actively be a realtor and an investor, or would you be happy with a referral fee? He might be thrilled with a good agent who's going to convert these leads and give him a 25% referral. It's probably a better use of his time to do what he's good at. I'll bet you nobody's offered him that before. So that's where I would start and make that unique offering. And I doubt very much he's trying to actively pursue both careers.
Yeah, I would say, go ahead, Aline.
Yes. So, hi, Kenita. I would also add to that it may be a conflict of interest for the attorney to handle both a real estate transaction and be their attorney at the same time, handling the divorce or probate regardless. So I find over and over again with attorneys, the more help that they can get from a realtor to alleviate some of the things that a client's going to be asking them, if you can just be, boots on the ground, helping, that's something that they're constantly looking for. So it could be, I don't know, Kenita, if you've actually asked the attorney this, but it could be that they have their real estate license just to be able to have a real estate license for who knows. Sometimes they want it for their own personal property, buying things that they want. It may have nothing to do with the clients that they're working with. And again, I may be off with this, but I do think that it would fall under a conflict of what do you call it?
Conflict of interest.
Yeah, thank you. Interest, that's the word. A conflict of interest.
Only working with one side. Probably not working with both of them. They're only working with one side. So to your point, Aline, that's really kind of a critical point here is that whether, it may well be a conflict of interest or a potential bone of contention between the parties because they're representing one or the other, and they won't go with them and won't accept it because of that. So you got a lot of options there. I wouldn't be afraid of it at all. Jim made a good point. Reach out and ask the question, and mine still stands. Go right at them and say, hey, what are you doing with this property? If you're going to get into it from that discussion, obviously we don't encourage you to lead with that. We encourage you to talk to them and, talk about what's going on and play it the same way that you would normally play it. Talk about, the things that they're struggling with, what you can do to help them, all those things. But certainly don't assume that just because the attorney has a real estate license, you're out of the game. I don't think that'd be a bad assumption to make. Better than half of those are probably not going to want to deal with that attorney at all for the exact reason that Aline mentioned. We got some hands up. Dwayne, go ahead. Buddy.
Thank y'all so much.
Real fast. Hold on. Kenita, you're a real estate agent with MLS Access. Is that correct?
Correct.
Go look her up and see how many listings she lists.
Great. Thanks, Bruce. That's great. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's very good. Dwayne, go ahead, bud.
Yeah, I think it's as far as that goes, I think it's a matter of convenience. One of the approach of a one-stop shop or something like that. And I in my experience, I haven't seen attorneys aggressively going after listings, but it's while they're dealing with the divorce. Oh, by the way, I can get another nickel in my pocket. But then if I remember correctly, attorneys don't have to take all the courses that we do to qualify to be an agent. So Bruce, I think you were thinking of Kevin Trudeau, late night guy.
Probably. Yeah. Probably.
Yeah. One last thing, Bruce. I think it was on one of yesterday's sessions. There was mention of something called easy offer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this is a place where you might want to expand on it or not, but I went to it and it looked pretty interesting to me. I'll just say that. So I didn't know if you had plans of expanding on that either now or in a future scenario, but it certainly is worth looking into, in my opinion.
Um, I'll tease it briefly.
It's
Because
up to you. I
I
just,
need to
just
show I need to show Tim and Jim the platform, but it's essentially a platform where you drive buyers to put their bids in online on a different platform off MLS. And you typically would list a house at a lower commission, and you would commission shift the commission to the buyers as a buyer premium. So the winning buyer puts their premium on top of their final winning offer price that's accepted, and the sellers typically would be really happy because you didn't sign a listing with them to pay the commission; the buyer pays it. It's just shifting who pays for what. It's a powerful, unique selling proposition that I am actively building out and using myself as well. So
Bruce, that's the norm in auctions. That's the way it's always been.
yeah. Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's very comparable to an auction platform, but it is not an auction platform. There are very specific things legally that make it different from an auction. So it's not an auction, but it runs comparable to one.
Yeah, it sounds like something we should maybe devote some more time to when we could maybe look at it with them and show it to them a little bit. So we'll take that offline. Lavelle, you had your hand up, and what's up, man?
I was merely just going to throw in a suggestion or two to the young lady who had the question about the attorneys. One of the things that's real unique with us is that we have freedom and access to do things that they don't. Attorneys are stuck in offices. We can go meet service people. We have a network of service people. We can be more full service, and she can lay that out. But more importantly, if all else fails, she can speak directly with the attorney, and since they have a license, throw them a doggone referral fee for just referring the client, and then build a relationship both with the relationships with the attorneys along with the individual owners, but use that as maybe a last gasp Hail Mary in the event I'm not going to be able to contractually work with this particular seller. Then offer them the possibility of a teamwork approach with the attorney.
Extremely well said. Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. And I think all in, when you initially asked this question, I'm like, well, this is maybe not, it's like everything else that we do here. And you're welcome, Kanita. We appreciate it. Thank you. I was gonna say thank you for asking the question, because it's a question like that. Look at all the answers we got back, and very thought provoking, and not something that we necessarily were certainly going to take off on today. I appreciate you asking the question. One of the things that came up with our support team in the last week, and one of our great support people, Emmett, brought this up. He said that he thought it would be a really good idea if we talk a little bit about the fact that, and we're getting it from customers, where they're really having trouble getting the PR to respond. The PR is not taking their calls. They're just not getting anywhere. They're not responding to mail. They're just kind of, hitting a brick wall with PR. And is there a way to dig in and go find relatives and, go deal with this and see if you can get that done? Well, one of the things that we'll tell you is that certainly there is that is a way to go do this. And if you're looking to make that happen, it's certainly something that is an advisable thing to go do. If you can't get the PR to talk to you, somebody somewhere has got to say something. So if there's a way that you can reach down to those heirs and, the other people or the other decedents to get that done, that's a great thing to go do. And obviously one of the things that we talk about a lot is in pre-probate, that's who you're working with. You're not working with a PR, there isn't one. So you know who's there. So a great way to get that data is to potentially dig in and maybe in a month take a whack and get both your probate leads and get pre-probate leads in the same month. See if you can go do that. And if you're having trouble getting in touch with the PR, start with the heirs and work the other direction. See if you can get to them that way to find out what's going on with that. Jim, I see your hand up, and I'll get with you in just a second. But both Jims, actually, Jim Stewart and Jim Sullivan. So obviously it's a good thing to go do, and I think it's something that we can help you with. And Emmett, I appreciate you asking the question, and Melissa made sure that I bring that up today. Anybody want to comment on that, Jim Sullivan?
Yeah, somewhat related. We had an interesting call yesterday with a potential subscriber. I was hoping she could be here today, but looks like she's not. She just got into real estate, and she asking around her office. My brother-in-law happened to work in her office because she said, I'd really like to specialize in probate. She was a probate paralegal for 15 years. And her salesperson, Darcy, made a really interesting point that we teach you guys to reach out to the attorneys. We've even taught you take donuts or, coffee to the receptionist. But the probate attorneys that have a paralegal, this particular girl, Tia, said she did everything. She had the personal conversations, contacts, everything with the people. So, yeah, I see Lovell giving a thumbs up. Along the lines of what you just said, Tim, if you can't find the relatives of the PR or the PR, if they have a paralegal, they're more accessible, they're more in contact, and they know what's going on usually better than the attorney. So we'll ask her to come on a future call once we get her set up as a subscriber and talk a little more about it. Lovell, you gave a big thumbs up. Did you have something to add to that before we get to the other Jim?
Yeah, real quick. Boy, my friend, you learn something every damn day that you already know. The main attorney that I work with, his paralegal does 80 to 90% of the work, and it never dawned on me. So thank you for showing me the obvious. Great point.
Okay, good. Go use it. Come back and let us know how you do with it. Perfect.
Jim Stewart.
Yeah, back to Tim's earlier comment. For the pre-probate is the best source of information. Like in my market, we have obituaries, and it's kind of it seems almost like an ambulance chaser, but in this case, we're not the same vein because we have vital services that's going to help these families out. But I've used a virtual assistant to pull those records, in the past. Is that a good way of approaching that in finding those heirs?
It's a matter of time and money. So the issue with that is that, first of all, they couldn't really accuse you of being an ambulance chaser. You'd be a hearse chaser. But but we're splitting hairs there. But the reality is, here's the reality, and that's it's time. Time is money, and the real value there is that you could pay somebody else to do it, but what we do with them is that we take a lot of time. We have a lot of machine learning that does a lot of this, and so we start with obits. We start with data from places like Legacy and all the sites that aggregate that data to begin with. So we find all of them, and then we go out and we do all the work that somebody else is going to do, and nothing falls through the cracks. We do all the skip traces of all the heirs. We try to also make sure that not only are we skip tracing and finding the people, but we find out if indeed there's property available. And you're not wasting time on opportunity that isn't there. So that's the value of our pre-probate versus starting with an obit in your local paper. Plus, you're potentially going to miss some of that anyway, because it depends on when it's getting published, when the funeral home's doing it. Sometimes funeral homes do it, sometimes individuals do it, and all of that. And we catch our net's pretty big. So, it sounds like a commercial, and in a way it is. We think we're the best in the business of getting that data. And that's kind of the key element with that, is that I think we do the work for you. It's also not an extremely expensive product to do that with. So rather than paying somebody to go do it, pay us and I'll take your money. And that's the way I look at it. I'd much rather have it than somebody else. But all kidding aside, we do a better job, and I think we save you time and money. Otherwise, we don't have a reason for living. You know, if we didn't do a better job than you can do on your own, then, you know, we wouldn't be doing this, and this wouldn't be our 475 millionth call, right, Jim?
Pretty close, 492.
Aline, we're going to say something.
Yes, I want to add to that is that the great thing about the leads and the way that it's put into the CRM is that you don't have to take the time scrubbing leads and figuring it out, which one is good, what's viable, what's not. Yeah, you could do a quick address check and then just move down the line and dial. So it's put in such a phenomenal system in the way that the CRM is done, and the leads have been scrubbed for you. So you don't have to like take each lead, go through it with a fine tooth comb. Your job is just to dial and call.
Hey, Aline, if I could add to that, if you're not using the click to call feature in the CRM, I don't know why. Our salespeople just rave how much time it saves them. You know, I know some people like to use their own auto dialers, and that's fine. But the click to dial is so easy to use. It'll make you so much more efficient making the calls.
Yeah.
Good point. Good point. Hey, Steve, what's up, man?
So, hi, how are you? Sorry I was late coming for an appointment. I couldn't tie in on the phone in the car. I was frustrated.
I will
But
excuse you this time.
thanks. Thanks, Tim. So, Jim, I think the other question I would ask of you, I mean, hats off to you. You know, you're doing yeoman's work, and I guess I use the naval phrase because you're wearing a Naval Academy hat. Doing that, I think it really comes down to what's your time worth? Okay, is this a task that, you know, is this a task that I should be doing versus I can maybe dedicate that to somebody else to do so that you can go focus on the things that are going to make your organization rank? So
Yeah,
I'm not saying one way or the other. It's just that I think it's a good question to ask you. Is this the best use of my time? And am I going to make the most rank?
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going with that line of question. And that's why even like the outbound calls, I recently started using appointments today or appointments now. And, you know, so far so good. We'll see how it looks in the next 3 to 6 months. But, you know, that between me and my realtor, you know, we were trying to make the calls, but it was inconsistent. So why not delegate that?
Sure, and that's a better use of your time to be able to focus on that. You know, and something I can tell you as an Army guy, one of the things we like to say, if it ain't raining, we ain't training. So understand that's what you're supposed to do is make it rain.
That's right.
We ain't training. I like that. That's good.
Oh, trust me, whenever we get out there and you pull out the canvas, it start raining. It's like the rain gods knew, okay, they're out here for however many days, and by golly, we're going to make it rain. So embrace the suck.
Absolutely. Yeah, because at the end of the day, I mean, the best use of our time is the appointment for the one-on-one or the Zoom call if it's someone out of state, whatever. And that's where the rubber meets the road for us and at our skill set level.
That's the value you bring. That's the value.
Thanks.
That's the skill set you have. So I just bring that just to kind of focus on that, just to consider it. I'm not telling you one way or the other, but it's just let's broaden the aperture.
Well, there's a new book out that a fellow realtor, she's down in Florida. Her name's Chantel. And the title of her book is Delegate Everything But Sex. And so, I mean, that's really what we're getting at here.
Wow.
I love that title.
Yeah, okay. I got nothing.
That's gonna be the opening. That's gonna be like the opening of this week's podcast and probably the title right there.
Yeah,
we'll be
39.5-foot pole. No.
We'll be at max. We'll be like over 100 subscribers.
Yeah, not going there.
Everyone will show up to that.
That's just an ad to pick up the book and buy it.
I love it. Sheila.
Yeah, I don't get any kind of referral fees for that. I should though.
Sheila, try to take us back to a better level. Go ahead, please.
Okay, so getting back to
A more
being
boring
more
topic.
working smarter, not harder. I just recently went through an AI certification class for real estate agents, and it is mind-blowing that how fast this works. Within 5 seconds, I created a Facebook post about estate properties with a great graphic using ChatGPT and integrating that with Canva, and that pulls up the images that you want, and it just boom, it's 125,000 times faster than the human brain. So doing that, I've been able to create email campaigns for my probate leads, for my expired leads, for my FISBOs, and just get it out there a lot faster and a lot quicker and put it on an automation. And it's just saving so much time.
That's extremely important. And here's the reality of this. This catalyst that we're talking about. I mean, there's not a bigger catalyst going on in the online world right now than AI. It's what everybody's talking about. All the cool kids are doing it, and great things are happening. And my buddy Francis just got back from, and he's literally one of the thought leaders in that industry. And he just got back from a meeting in Las Vegas, and they had 5,000 people signed up for this meeting, 5,000 people in attendance. Every person that was there paid $1,000 to be there. Now, it's great work for the people who put the meeting on and did that. And most of it was people who this time 12 months ago, they didn't know anything about AI. They weren't doing it. It's a brave new world that's out there, and we've only scratched the surface of this. The government's getting involved. They're looking at it from a regulatory standpoint. Hearings are being held. People are talking about it. In the meantime, people just like you, Sheila, are taking it and saying, okay, that's great. What can I do today? What can I do today? You took action. You got something done. You put something out there. And, not only does it make you feel good, you got a great sense of accomplishment, but you're ahead of 99.9% of the people in your marketplace just by doing that. Because everybody else is still trying to figure it out, and it is easy and it is simple to go do. And I'm going to say one other.
It's not easy. It's not simple. I did do a lot of training. I do weekly training on this.
Sure.
It's not easy, but once you get it, yeah, it is.
Put it this way: the next time you do it, it'll be real easy, right?
Yeah.
And that's the point. You've learned how to do it. And I'll just tell you what I always say to, our folks that join our company and go do things. It's this, is go break some eggs. Go break some eggs. It doesn't matter if you make a mistake. It doesn't matter if you screw something up. Take action. Get something done. Our buddy Chad always used to say it's much easier to, steer a moving boat. And it's true, go do something. Take action.
Like my dad used to say, do something, even if it's wrong, just do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, it's just like anything else. And I'm going to, go back to Kanita's question. It's like this, should I do it? Well, sure. Go take a whack at it. Don't spend time necessarily analyzing if you should or if you shouldn't. The answer is always take a whack at it. If you're not doing something illegal, immoral, or unethical, and you're doing it with good intention, go try it. This is a time to try new things. It's time to do things that you didn't do yesterday. Do something different than what you did yesterday. The market is waiting for somebody. If you take right now, and mark my words, if you right now know who your main competitors are in the market that you're in today, and you look at them and they've been around and they've been doing the same thing over and over and over again. If you look at that same group of people 12 months from now, you're going to see different players. You're going to see different competitors leading that field, new real estate signs from a company that this time last year you didn't see. I'm seeing it in my own backyard here. I'm seeing new companies that came out of the ground in the last 12 months, even in the last 6 months, I didn't even know existed before. And they're rocking and rolling. And it's not just in residential, it's in commercial as well. It's big time happening in commercial. We've got all kinds of issues with that. So, and I think that's just an important thing to remember. Jim, I'll get to you in just a second. One person asked a question, would the PR feel you're going around them if you're contacting relatives? Yeah, probably so. Here's the issue. If they're not responding to you, you don't have any choice to do that than to do that. And what you need to be doing in regard to your dealing with the relatives is, hey, we're just trying to reach the PR and we're trying to, get some response, and it's not happening. And again, what choice do you have if you're not getting any response out of them? You need to do something to get somebody's attention. So again, break an egg. What have you got to lose? You've got a lead. You can't get anybody to get any action. Do anything you can do to try and get to the person that can sell or list that house. Jim, you were going to say something, bud.
Yeah, Sheila, I was just going to encourage people to do what you did. I take a lot of abuse at the company as being the least technologically proficient person. It's kind of pretty close to being true, but that's mainly because we got, Tim and I are the oldest. We got a lot of younger people, and I've always been a salesperson. I've never been a tech person. But just for fun, a few months ago, I was setting up my fantasy football league. I signed up for Chat GPT, absolutely free, the 3.0 version. I just ask it, I'm in a fantasy football league. How can I win? In 5 seconds, it gave me 23 suggestions, and about eight of them I never would have thought of. And then my son had some issues with his commercial welding business. I did the same thing. I'm a commercial welder. Here's my issue. What can I do about it? I would challenge everybody, if you haven't done it because you think it's complicated, it isn't. It really isn't. Matter of fact, I think somebody on this call should say, either I'm a buyer's agent or I'm a real estate agent. How can I take advantage of all the new NAR regulations? I bet it gives you some great suggestions.
Oh, yeah,
it does.
So
absolutely does. And I did. And by the way, I still beat you in fantasy football, but we won't talk about that.
No, you came in 8th and I came in 9th. I wouldn't say that was beating.
I beat you.
but go ahead.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
But basically I had to train it to kind of talk like me. So you have to feed it. And I have the 4.0 version. I've upgraded a little bit, but
Yeah.
it integrates with it'll integrate with my CRM. It'll integrate with canva.com, with mostly all online platforms. And it's pretty interesting. I'm going to give a plug to the Nick Krem, who runs the AI certification for real estate agents. If you look it up, NICKKREM, and he's more than happy to talk about it.
What did you say? ICK? Okay. Can't see him.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I do. And I think that we did one round of AI discussion, I don't know, 2-3 months ago, and we're definitely due to do this again. I'm waiting till Francis is actually flying right now back from Vegas, but I plan to talk to him a little bit next week and maybe have him hop on. What I realized in when we did this in the beginning was that we a fire hose and sprayed it all over everybody about AI. And it's back to what I said earlier. We need to give you a couple of actionable things that you guys can go do quickly and make things happen. And what's a good prompt to use with ChatGPT to do that? And what's a good prompt to then take that same subset of data that you get back from ChatGPT, how to throw that at Canva to make that work. And that's a pretty common approach to doing a lot of stuff online. Canva is an awesome tool. Man, every day there are new tools that are out there. It's just amazing. And people are using ChatGPT as building its own tool set. They're using that AI mode to come in and say, how can I make something that does this? It comes up with the rudiments. They throw it over to a code maker. The code maker makes the code. All of a sudden now they've got their own app. And, for the next 2 or 3 weeks, it's the flavor of the month. And then somebody else comes along and says, well, like the flavor of the month tool that was out there or that's out there now, I'd like to do that plus this. How can I add to that? And along comes another app and it supersedes the one that was there. So we need to come back and give you some actionable things. And we will take that on, I think, in the future as something that we can add some value with. Guys, it's 2 o'clock. I can't believe we've gotten through this hour so quickly. I can't remember one going quite this quick. If anybody got a last question they want to ask, I'll be happy to take it. I've got one that's been brought up in chat, and I'll answer it quickly, and then we'll call it a day. If you've got something else you want to ask, raise your hand. Otherwise, I'm going to answer this one quickly and let everybody else chime in as well. The question was from the person was asking who originally started about reaching out to the relatives, was not how to necessarily do it, but what should the conversation be like when talking with them if they're not the personal representative. And I believe my approach to that would be pretty simple, which is that, hey, I've got a potential person interested in buying the house, assuming that there's a house available, and according to my research, there's a house at 123 Main Street, and I'm trying to reach the PR to see if we can do something there. I'm just looking to try to do that, and that's the person legally who can do it. Just turn me on to the PR, see if you can help me get that done. And I'm broad stroking it to say that. That's the thing to deal with. The only other thing I'd say is be aware, be sensitive to how long ago the death occurred, and realize that if it's relatively a new death in the family, you got to be very careful about how you approach that heir, particularly if they may be in a situation where they're still grieving heavily over the loss of a loved one, or maybe it's the surviving spouse that's still in the house and it's the oldest sibling that's dealing with it. You don't want to make anybody angry. You're not looking to cause trouble. You're just trying to, do good things for them. So that's my answer to that. Bruce, any comment?
Yeah, I think I was chatting and I was typing in chat, so I didn't 100% get what you're doing. But I think that one of the easiest ways to do this is by opening up and calling about this house. I don't know who's involved. Tim, you have to stop me if I'm just off track here. But I was checking on 123 Main Street. I have no idea who is responsible for this property. If it's Tony Smith or if it's an executor, it kind of looks like it might be part of an estate. Do you have any involvement with that? And that's one of the ways that I open up conversations with a lot of probate leads, and it typically goes pretty well.
And that's that was kind of what we're talking about. And yep. Jim, if you've got a final word on that, that would be great. And if not, you may send us to the barn, buddy.
No, nothing to add to the good observations you guys made. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today. I want to particularly thank all three Jims, Aline, Bruce, Kenita, Dwayne, Lovell, Sheila, Steve, and Anthony for actively participating. And I want to challenge each of you, take one idea that inspired you on this call, go out and put it into practice, and please come back next Thursday and share the results with the group. Take care, everybody. Same time next Thursday.